Hello, friends. Welcome to Film Copat. As you know, the country is going through RRR fever, the latest blockbuster from SS Rajamouli. To our present surprise, it's not only back home in India, the movie is creating waves and perhaps history across the globe at an unprecedented scale. Courtney Howard, one of our favorite film critics whom we regularly follow, calls RRR to be an invigorating, indelible experience while urging her film critic friends to watch the movie ASAP and treat themselves. We couldn't have been happier to see this post from Courtney and had to invite her to join us for a discussion on RRR, and she has been kind enough to oblige. Courtney is a film critic and entertainment journalist whose work has been published in Variety, She Knows, Fresh Fiction TV, award circuits, to name a few. Thank you, Courtney, for joining us today. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to talk about this movie. I've wanted to talk about it. The morning after, I was gushing to everybody with ears. I was like, you've got to see this movie.
Right. Before moving to any specific question, let us hear from you about your overall experience of watching RRR and what impressed you the most.
Those are the biggest questions. I loved the scale and scope of this movie. I think this is like the superhero movie that we've all wanted to see. It's gorgeous. It's got a great story. It really hooks you in from the first, maybe even less than 5 minutes. I was like, I am interested. They've got me, the title cards, the story, the fire, the water. It's just so good and it's over the top. And I just loved every second of it. So, it's everything that you could want in a movie. Great action, great actors. My gosh, I just sound like a marketing ploy at this point with this movie. My job is so focused on just covering the domestic stuff. Mm-hmm. And I miss a lot of world cinema because it's like, oh, you're signed this indie film or this little thing and here. And so I miss a lot of the other stuff that's coming out that's huge. So I really rely on word of mouth to get these on my radar. And this was a word of mouth too, mm-hmm. that one of my critic friends had tweeted about and said, oh my gosh, everybody's got to go see this movie. And so then when my friend had written me and was like, this movie is huge. I think you guys will like it. And we were sold. And so we just went and didn't expect anything. We didn't read about anything in advance. And it was just again, within the first 5 minutes, it was oh my gosh, this is the best movie. This is everything I wanted anything to be. And, despite the runtime being over 3 hours, it really felt like it was 90 minutes. It just flew by so quickly. There are no lulls in it. We've seen some Indian films where there's, a plummet in energy in the middle, and then it'll pick back up again or not pick back up again. But there were no valleys. It was all peaks.
What was the reaction from your co-audience? They all enjoyed it. It was a full house.
Yeah, it wasn't a full house because we went just on we went after opening weekend, and I really wish we had gone opening weekend. It was maybe about a third full, and there were mostly white people in there. And everybody stayed and everybody was loving it. There were people behind us who were laughing and clapping and really into it. And everybody stayed through the credits with the whole dance scene. Nobody got up and danced in the front of the theater or anything, but I'm sure we all wanted to in our hearts. In our hearts we were all up there dancing, but it was great. It was so wonderful. And so when the end credits came on, I was like, oh my gosh, it's over. Oh my gosh, it's over. I'm so sad now. Watch this again. So
we can get that feeling of you watching it and loving it.
I don't know, if I see it again, when I see it again, am I just going to be chasing this feeling again? Is this going to hit me? Have you guys seen this multiple times already or not?
No, one time only, but I wish to go for it once more, maybe in another week's time. But this is why we go to the cinemas, right? This is that theater feeling we were missing for the last 2 years.
Yeah. This is what we've been desperate for being locked away and not having this crowd reaction. And even though my crowd was on the smaller side, it still got a reaction. And I think seeing it in a big, packed theater, like, oh man, you can't top that feeling, It's just so great. That's why, like you said, that's why we go to the cinema.
I would like to ask you that, have you watched any Rajamouli films before this? Like there was Bahubali, which came in 2 parts before RRR.
Yes, yeah. I actually have seen both of the Bahubali movies. A friend of ours is like really into Tollywood movies, Bollywood movies. And so he's sort of like, we had some experience with, my husband and I had some experience watching Bollywood movies before, but our one friend has been more of the sort of conduit to like get us to watch movies. So we've seen Bahubali before, and that too has a large scale and scope to it as well, and great action and actors. But something about RRR just really hit me just like on a guttural level, like, more so than Bahubali, but, Bahubali's nothing to sneeze at, it's still pretty darn good. But this just felt like such a maturation, like evolve, like he really evolved as a director. It just felt so different. Do you know what I mean? Yes. Maybe you guys felt that too. I don't know.
We felt that so as well, because, it was kind of so packed into 3 hours, everything there, and all those things. That spectacle itself was so invigorating. As you say, from the from the first frame itself, it takes you inside, and it's a pulsating energy across the whole movie.
Right. It was quite an experience actually, because once you see the trailer, it's hard not to go out and watch the movie. So when the trailer dropped in, it really, the way it has been edited and cut, it makes you very, very interested in what's going to happen. And I want to know from you, Courtney, that like this vision of larger than life films of directors has becoming quite common in Hollywood as well. And in India, we have this franchise, we have KGF 2 also from another industry, which is also on a large scale. So as a critic, does that excite you? And what do you think about this kind of large scale, larger than life movies?
For me, it always comes down to the story and how well the story is told. I'm married to a screenwriter, so I pay more attention to the story than anything. And then it's like the emotions in the story and then the vision. And if a director can blend both of those things on a big screen scale, I love it. Like, I love movies that are small independent movies that cost, $1.05 to make. And I love movies that are just over the top and just, cost a fortune to make. It just depends on how well the story hits you. So that's what's most important to me. And just blending everything together, it's just sort of like this, I don't know, like the director is just this grand conductor of this whole thing. And it's kind of amazing, like, especially with RRR, it felt like he really blended all of the team's work and really inspired passion in all of the departments. From like visual effects to the cinematography, like it felt like everybody was on fire to tell this story. And you could feel that as an audience member. I hope that I'm reading into it right. I don't want to put any words in anybody's mouth who was on set or anything, but it just felt like a really passionate, affair from a creative standpoint to make. But, I love superhero movies if done right, and franchise movies I love if they're done right. We have plenty of, I'm sure, like in Tollywood and Bollywood movies, there are franchises that just don't hit you and they keep making more of them and they're just not working. Right. Hollywood's the same way. I'm sure you've seen some of ours and it's like, this is terrible. But we won't go into those today.
Sure. I will tell you something, Courtney. So you remember during the climax fight, there was this one scene where, this guy puts a grenade into the arrow and then shoots that. So it was a very interesting take that one of our critics here in India said. Bharadwaj Rangan is his name, and he is one of the most popular critics we have here. So he said, every story is told, and that every story being told is like that arrow, and Rajamouli attaches that grenade to that already told story and gets you to that kind of a spectacle. So it was very nicely put, I think, exactly that feeling of what we get from the movie.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, that's the perfect way to say it.
Yeah. What about the performances? So you like the performances? Anyone you like better than the other?
No, I liked them all across the board. I think everybody was giving the top work. Like, I had also seen Singham before. Mm-hmm. And so the lead actor in that is, of course, yes. I don't want to explain this to you, but you guys know he's also in this. I have to explain that to my white film critic friends because they don't know. But he's excellent in this. Like he's good in Singham. He's a very, very good actor, a very prolific actor too. But he's really good in this. And I don't know, it just really connects with you. Like the backstories with all these characters. And I think the actors were doing such an amazing job. There was no one actor that like stood out above the other. And I think that's also sort of interesting. The stories work on an individual level, but the actors give so much heart and passion. And I don't know how they're able to, I mean, an actor's job is just incredible to me, but how they're able to modulate tones, selling something so seriously and sincerely, even though it could be a silly joke, because there are some really funny moments in there, but they are so sincere about it. You can't help but like love it. We have a thing with camp. We like campy stuff, which is like big over the top stuff. Like there's a little bit of that in there, but there's also a lot of sincerity that sort of wins over. So I think all the actors are really good. I loved Alia Bhatt. I think she's excellent. And like, she makes such a statement. It's such a, sort of supporting role. Who else did I like? I just think he allowed for every actor to have really good moments. And not just one moment, but like multiple moments where you're really just pulled into their performance and their character. And, I know I'm speaking in generalities, but, I really don't have, this is a 5 out of 5 for me. I hardly have any criticisms, Right.
And I think the chemistry between the two actors, the two leads, that's amazing, right?
Yeah. how do you, I don't know. They seem to were they friends for a while? Like what's their...
Maybe. But then, the way it kind of gels in the film, I don't think they're that close. I'm not very sure if that is the case.
Yeah. It works as an antagonist level when they're supposed to be, butting heads. And it works when they're having their full on like bromance moments when they're running through the train and the whole open. It's great.
And I think, if I have to pick one sequence from the whole movie, it is that dance sequence in the party, that not to dance, You must have loved it.
Oh my gosh. We were over the top. Like I looked over at my husband and he had this like huge smile on his face. I was laughing and smiling. Like my friend was laughing and smiling that had come with us. And like, it was just so great. That Natu scene is just like, it's indelible. It's one of my favorite scenes of any film in this year. This whole movie is filled with scenes where I'm like, oh my gosh, there is no way any American filmmaker is going to top this for me this year. Like, I know it's very early in the year to be so hyperbolic, but I don't see anybody topping that dance sequence. I don't see anybody topping the raid on the compound. Like that is incredible. When Beam comes jumping out of the truck on fire with all the animals that shot. Like I was like, clapping. It was just so great. It was such a great audience experience movie. Like I'm sure you guys experienced it with like sold out crowds. It must have been incredible to see.
It was. And what's happening is, after the movie finishes, it's like everyone dancing on the theaters, everyone enjoying with selfies and everything. So it's that kind of a movie, that experience part of it is like up there to match with the best.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me something, there's also one kind of discussion that's happening here in India, like it's straightforward, it's simplistic, it's fantastical and all of that. So you have been a film critic, you have watched your realistic movies and, dark undertones and subtext movie in the movies and all. So when you say it's great and this might be the best you have seen in the world, so are you comparing with that as well? Or is it like, you're comparing with stuff like this, say a superhero movie, the Marvel or the DC ones?
Well, whenever I go into a movie, I try and just evaluate it as the movie and sort of keep it to that. But you can't help but pull references from, what other directors are also pulling from and what they've been inspired by. So, there's some sequences in this where, the backstory for Rom is like it felt very Sergio Leone, very like Western, like there's a lot of like dark, he's got his fight there and it just feels like so palpable. But I try and just compare the movie just onto its own, but then it's hard to go from like within, for instance, with this, like within 12 hours, I had to go see Morbius. And that wasn't nearly, I think everybody could say it's not nearly as good as RRR, and that's a superhero movie, but it's such a different tone thing that I couldn't even compare the two. Like if somebody said, which should I go see? I would say RRR, of course, but or if somebody was like, which is better, Endgame or RRR, it's sort of hard for me to say, well, what do you like in these things? But I still think RRR is better than Endgame. I know I'm going to get in trouble for that. But they each have such like passionate visions and scale and scope and definite like things that definite values and qualities that I love in filmmaking. It's anything that gets you excited to go see a movie on the big screen. Like that's what this has. That's what has like Mad Max Fury Road did. Like the hairs on my arm were standing on end, and it's just like, okay, this is the excitement of movies. This is what I've been this is what I wait for as an audience member.
Right. And it has also got a lot of mythological subtext to it. The Ramayana and the Mahabharata, they combine, and there are very interesting subtext that comes in the movie as well. And I also feel, you can tell me your feeling. I also feel it's not about what the content of the film is, what we compare. We should be comparing how that presentation of the content happens, right? So it would be unfair to say this is a simplistic thing, so it will not be better than, say something which will be going for the award seasons and all of that. So it's not to be defined and differentiated based on the theme, but on the presentation, right?
Yeah. It's hard to say. Like someone had tweeted, like, do you think this should be up for an Oscar? And I was like, if, India picks it as their movie, great. Yes. And I will like shout from a mountaintop about it. But, I know I'm going to certainly be talking to my film critic friends about this, come our end of the year award, saying, for our international feature, this is what I think is really good. This is what I think you guys should see, and then see where our vote goes. But it's very hard for me as a critic. It's hard for me to evaluate any movie on awards, on an awards level. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I'm so bad at picking those things. Like I just don't know. There's movies that resonate with me that don't get any awards at all.
Of course.
And same with everybody. Like,
exactly.
Courtney, in general, like you enjoyed the Natu Natu sequence over here in the movie. In general, do the song dance sequences in Bollywood or Indian cinema work for you when you watch it?
Yeah, for sure. Like the music is great, and even the score in RRR is really good too. Like the instrumentation is really beautiful. Like that's instruments like we don't really hear a lot on American composers' score, or like a lot of composers for Hollywood movies here. But yeah, I like the, it depends on, we've seen stuff like one of the first Bollywood movies that my husband and I watched was, is it The Braveheart Wins? It's translated The Braveheart Wins the Bride, but it's the one that's been playing for like 20 years or 30 years. Yes, yeah. And we love that movie. And the way the musical sequences come in are really beautiful. It's such a romantic movie. It's so beautifully shot. It really just depends. And sometimes you can just watch these, the music sequences, the dance sequences just on their own. Like they're shot like a music video. And I think that's so smart with filmmaking. Like to throw it back, not to the greatest movie on earth, but like Rocky IV, Sylvester Stallone built in these music video sequences because he knew he could take that and put it on MTV, and that will get more people to see movies. So I think it's really shrewd. And I know it's part of like Bollywood and Tollywood movies to have these music sequences in it, but that's something like, we don't get like in independent cinema. People don't like break out in song and dance unless it's a musical or something. But I love the way that they're integrated. I love the music. I think it works. I like seeing the lyrics on the screen and really feeling it. And with this one, the lyrics really like resonate on a narrative level. They really fit in really well. I know this isn't a musical, but I mean, the Natu Natu scene, but also the scene where Beam is getting whipped and he's singing that ballad that's so emotional, and it's really hitting and inspiring a revolt in the passion in the people. And it really hits you on just a guttural level. So those scenes like really are standouts.
What about the overall set design and the production of the film?
Yeah, it's got high production value. We don't have the disclaimers with our movies that are like all the animals are CGI or whatever, but I loved that they had that in there because I'm like, how are they? There are moments, you just lose yourself in the film and that's not a real tiger running around. But, when they do the raid on the compound and all the animals are just still feasting on the random, soldiers or whatever. And then we have our two protagonists still fighting in the foreground. Like, it's still really great. But yeah, I like the production value was really great. Special effects are lots of fun. It really was high quality all the way. And like I said, I think it really comes down to being passionate about their crafts. Each of these teams did such a wonderful job. And, for the director to just blend it all just so perfectly and just combine it, it felt effortless. I know it wasn't effortless though.
So would you think S.S. Rajamouli should be making the next Marvel movie? Would you recommend that?
I would love that. Like he would bring such a unique vision to it. I don't think Marvel would, Marvel and DC, they're really tough with like things people can get away with. But if they really respect their director's visions, I would say go for it. If he has the opportunity to do it, like go for it and be a part of that system, because he definitely has the vision and he knows how to create character. And, that's really important for Marvel. And I wouldn't, just say that all Marvel directors are sort of following orders, but they all have to find their own creativity in a, workable system. So I like that he has the freedom to do his own thing now with this, which is a superhero movie. But it would be interesting to see him move into take a Marvel director's chair or DC and do something there. I would be all for it. I would totally watch that. Opening day, lobby for all of the all the early screenings. Sign me up for all of them. I'm there.
Right. Same for us. But then, Courtney, I just wanted to ask another question. It might not be for you, but in general, we do feel that in our regional industry, in the different, in Malayalam, Tamil, and a few other industries as well, there has been a really good work being done in terms of, quality films which are restrained, subdued, which are at par, what we feel is at par with other films being done, say, in Korea or Europe or things like that. And there's a lot of acknowledgement which also comes in the different film festivals, like in Venice or, Rotterdam and all of that. We do get acknowledgement. But when it comes to the mass audience watching that, or when it comes to Oscar, which is predominantly a more, mass-based awarding system rather than the critics giving that award, they lack. And we kind of feel that a lot of people from the West do not expect India to produce that kind of movies. They expect this kind of spectacle coming out of India. So do you think that is the case that happens while we watch an Indian movie, we go for an Indian movie?
I don't know. I mean, it's really hard for me to answer for what everybody else is doing. Somebody else had asked me on Twitter, like why, Indian movies aren't as popular and hasn't caught on with Western audiences as it has like all over the world. And, I don't really know, like, it's really a shame that it hasn't caught on here, because there's a wealth of like, especially in India, there's a wealth of great world cinema to be had everywhere. And there's filmmakers doing incredible work out of many countries, but especially India. Like I said, I don't know that I've ever seen anything like RRR before. And I know that sounds like hyperbole, like pull quote, kind of thing. But like, this is the kind of movie I love going to see. But, I don't know that I've ever seen it come out of any other country like this. But I really don't know, like, what, other people's, visions are of, or interpretations are of, Indian films, or what their expectations are. This would meet expectations and, go above that, for any movie whatsoever, regardless if it's, domestic or international. But this exceeds any expectations. But, I don't really know. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
But tell me something. So, this is a spectacle, and of course, we all love that. Had you been for a screening for an Indian movie where you see things are more restrained and subdued, things are more an European way? So, would that meet your expectation of watching an Indian movie, or you would think, I would expect something else from coming from India, more song and dance sequence and things like that?
No, again, it all comes down to story. So if the story is where it's like, there's no music, there's no dancing, I'll evaluate it for, just as it is. I don't really go into things with, I go into movies just thinking, I hope this is good. I don't want to think any movie is bad. I want to think this is going to resonate with me or with audiences or with other people. But, I don't really go into something that's like thinking, oh, this is an Indian movie, there's going to be X, Y, Z in this. And if there's not, then too bad. This is not an Indian movie. Like, this is not, hashtag not my Indian film or whatever. But no, like, I don't do that, but I don't know if other critics do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, get you.
I don't know anybody else's evaluating system. I think it's mostly like people go for the story, but story and the vision and the spectacle. But, it's really just about characters and how it's all balanced out. And, just from a technical standpoint too, like, we all sort of evaluate it from like the minutia of this, like, we can't help it. I want all recommendations now that are anything like RRR, like any other Indian movies like this. Like, are there any Tollywood or Bollywood movies like this? Is this like just out of like it's the top and everything else is like?
When it comes to, say, the storytelling and that pulsating energy, there are so many. We can tell about that. Have you watched Sholay? That's one Indian movie which has been loved across generations.
Okay, I'm gonna have to get recommendations after, and hopefully they're available here, because I think that's the other problem too with
I think Sholay DVDs are
Sholay would be available.
Yes.
Okay, good.
So that was another movie, which kind of marked an era in Indian cinema, and it has been considered the all-time best. And it's also a Western. So
yeah, it's a Western.
It's also a Western where you have this kind of larger-than-life character. Again, two heroes, and there's this chemistry, and there's a super villain. So you will love that. You must watch that.
Good. Yay. Well, I talked about The Brave-Hearted Wins the Bride. I love that. I love Shah Rukh Khan. I think he's a great actor. He's one of my favorites. Like, if he's in it, I'll watch it, regardless of quality or whatever. So I'm trying to think of what else. I haven't seen that many. Before it was like Bahubali. Now this is number one now, defeating Braveheart Wins the Bride. But, you get two different things there. They're two different movies.
What you have to watch, Courtney, for sure, is there is this another director, Sanjay Leela Bansali. So it's not, in terms of action and all, but the kind of spectacle in terms of the production, the set design, the color in his films is awesome. So he has a recent release. It might be playing over there in California as well. So it's called Gangubai Kathiawari, which is also starring Alia Bhatt. So she kind of is across the film. She is the protagonist and she's the solo lead kind of over there. You will love it. And any of his films, it's kind of that bigger than life and that color and that grandeur. We love him for that. So you can catch his films as well.
Good. And I love her too. Like she's my new favorite too. Like I can't wait to dip more into her resume and see what she's done. Like I know she's huge where you are. Like she's your Julia Roberts.
But I have a favor from Courtney to us. Courtney said that one of our top movies is Braveheart Wins the Bride, right? Mm-hmm. So I want Courtney to say that in Hindi, and I'll help you to do that.
Yes. I tried last night.
It's 4 words, okay? So Braveheart is Dilwale.
Dilwale, right?
The one who heart, the person who has a heart. Dilwale. Dil is heart in Hindi. So that's a Braveheart. Dilwale. Dulhania. That is the bride.
Dilwani Dulhania.
Yeah. Le jayenge. Will take. So Dilwale Dulhania Le jayenge is will take. So it's like when read in Hindi, the order turns around. So it becomes Braveheart, bride, and will take.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay. Now I'll be able to say it and be proficient and not sound like a white idiot lady.
No, absolutely not. You said it wonderfully. Dilwale Dulhania Le jayenge.
Dulhania Le jayenge.
That is perfect. Yeah, absolutely. That's, nice. That's a good one. That's a good one.
I need to practice a few more days with that, so I'm not the Allison Doody in this character. Even they were great as the evil white people. I love them. They were great. Yes, white people are awful. They are awful.
No, don't say that, Courtney. we're just kidding. Have you seen Lagan though, Courtney? Lagan is one Indian movie which went to the Oscars also, I guess.
Which was also nominated in the last 5.
Five. Yeah,
that's another one you have to watch.
That is a good one.
So it's all action over there, but in terms of cricket. So cricket and cinema are the two passion of the Indians. So it's kind of pre-independence India, where the villagers are challenging the British team to cricket.
Okay, this sounds familiar.
I think it was 2001. 2001, it was nominated for the Oscars.
So usually what happens, it's not now. Now we are getting better foreign actors or white actors. Usually what used to happen in India was that we used to get really bad actors, like foreign actors or white actors, and so it used to destroy the movie. But I think Lagan was the one where we got real A-listers from the West, and they were good actors, and then really produced something really great for the Indian screen. So you'll absolutely enjoy that. That's it's a great one, really.
That's also for the theaters. When the match was being played, and it's more than 1 hour when an actual match is being played, and everyone was feeling like we are in the stadium.
Oh, I love that. That's so wonderful. I wish I had more time to really dip into your country's wealth of really good cinema. There's so much there, and there's so little time. There's so little time and so many good movies out there to watch. This is the struggle. This is my internal struggle, is there's so many good movies and so little time.
That is so true. That is so true. I think we are towards the end of our discussion, Courtney, and let me tell you what a brilliant discussion it was, and we really enjoyed the way you explained your feelings about the movie, and you talked to us, and you took out your time out of your busy schedule, and we are really grateful to you. Thank you so much, Courtney, and hope we can again catch up sometime later with some other discussion.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I hope I didn't bring the intelligence level down at all.
What are you talking about?
So fun.
Anyway, it was great to actually listen to your point of view and learn, like understand your point of view about the movie. And like what's beautiful is that we had similar feelings after watching the movie. So like that's what the uniting force cinema is. Like I mean, it was so great to talk to you, Courtney. Thank you so much.
Did you guys have any criticisms of this movie? Like, was there anything? I mean, is there anything bad to say? Like, I mean, fair enough if there were.
No, not really. I didn't have.
Not really. I think it's not about RRR. But one thing that I feel about Rajamouli's movies is the woman might be a bit more empowered. You know, in Bahubali also they were like left to be rescued. Here also she's waiting at the back end, things like that. Having said that, it's not a criticism. It's something maybe I will be wishing for the next movie. But the spectacle, you know, and then the audacity of the presentation itself, it takes over. It kind of puts everything away. It's just that on a second watch or a third watch, you might be feeling maybe this could have been there.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, totally understandable. Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, you know, a lot of, and even in our movies too, like I always call it the woman who waits at home and cries. Like, you know, I'm sick of those I'm sick of those roles. But, you know, it's sort of hard. Like you could sort of shove that aside because, you know, it's not really their movie. Like it's these two men's movies and it's like them going at it, but it's how they can be worked in. But, you know, I think that's definitely a fair criticism for sure. I'm going to get off this and go watch the Not Too scene. I'm sure it's on YouTube. I'm sure it's on, I think maybe we need to go see this movie again in the theater. Like the only thing that I had a criticism of is it's not playing in IMAX here, like anywhere.
It should be.
Like I think like that's the main thing I've heard from everybody is go see this in IMAX. And I would love to, but it's just not playing in this area here. I wish it was, but you know, we did. I don't know. I tried to look for it for second weekend for IMAX, but still nothing. So I think another maybe Batman has it, or I don't know. They really wore over the IMAX space here.
Everywhere the same.
Yeah.
Really, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to read what you write, and also today interacting with you. It was such a great experience, really.
Thank you so much. Like I hope there will be another movie where we can talk again, that one that crosses through like multicultural boundaries and stuff. Like more movies like this, please. Yes, I would like more.
Okay,
Courtney, thank you so much. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.